Hi, I'm Helen Fazey. I was at Caius from 1998 to 2002 studying Arabic and Persian in the Faculty of Asian and Middle Eastern Studies. I work for the Foreign Office and I am currently the head of mission at the British Embassy in Yerevan, Armenia. The main message that I want to get across in this video is that there is a huge range of opportunities in Cambridge and at Caius. So do take advantage of that to study something that you're really interested in. There are several small faculties that offer amazing opportunities to get into something new. For most of my time in high school, it didn't really occur to me that you could go to university and study something that you hadn't already done in school, unless it was a real vocational thing like law or medicine. But when I was looking through prospectuses and I saw Arabic and Middle Eastern studies listed in a couple, it really wormed its way into my brain as something that brought together things I was interested in. I loved languages. I was watching the news about what was happening in the Middle East. And I knew quite quickly that this was something I wanted to do. Though I spent a bit of time pretending to my teachers that I was also considering studying history while they got used to the idea. I don't come from a family where many people had been to university or a school that sent many people to Cambridge. I think the fact that this unusual degree I wanted to do was available at Cambridge did help to reassure people. I got lots of encouragement about applying to Cambridge at home and at school. It really upsets me when I hear about very able people who get told it's not for them, and I'm grateful that I never had to face that myself. I didn't get so much practical advice about how to prepare for the application and the interview. I know that since my time, the whole of Cambridge and Caius specifically have got much better at reaching out to people in that kind of situation, and their admission tutors are really looking for potential. How did I find studying at Cambridge and Caius? Well, honestly, I was unprepared for Arabic being a lot harder than French and Spanish. But then the rest of the class were also coming to it new and were in the same position as me. The first year of study is really set up for that. You get an intensive year of language studies, and we did just one other paper in addition to those, which was an introduction to Middle Eastern history, going all the way through from Muhammad to the Second World War. So by the end of that, you're a reasonably confident speaker in everyday situations. You've got a good base to build on for more study of language and history and literature and so on. We were encouraged to spend some time at the end of the first year in the Middle East, and I went to Cairo for a month, which Caius funded for me with a travel grant. And then, like other language students, I spent the whole of my third year abroad. We had a lot of freedom to decide what we do and where, and I split my year between Tehran and Damascus. I was really excited to be heading off to those places that I'd studied but never visited before. I was enrolled at Tehran University and at a language school in Damascus, plus I travelled a lot in both countries. And I came back from my final year much more fluent in the language and also with my enthusiasm for my subjects reinforced. Throughout my degree, I had a really great support network from the other students in my class. And one thing that was different for me compared to my other Caius friends was that my study peer group wasn't based around college, nor were my supervisions or my director of studies. But even more than with the regular Cambridge offer, you can be sure that you are going to get lots of individual support from the staff teaching you. On the other hand, there is no room for dozing off at the back of the lecture hall when there's only a dozen of you in there. The Foreign Office is probably one of the more obvious jobs to go on to with a degree in Middle East Studies. I'd thought about it at an earlier stage, and then I met people at the British embassies in Damascus and Tehran during my year abroad, and talking to them helped me to make up my mind about applying. The route in is through the Civil Service Fast Stream, and I did those tests and interviews in my final year at Cambridge. I've been working with the Foreign Office for 18 years now, but done quite a lot of different jobs in that time. When I applied, I was definitely thinking of diplomacy as a career where I'd get to use the specific language skills and regional knowledge from my degree. And I have done that, but it's also been a lot more varied than I expected. I've made choices at various points to go for broader experience over really concentrating on one part of the world. I've worked in Indonesia and Ukraine and now Armenia, as well as the Middle East and, of course, London. When I worked in Iraq and in Libya, I was speaking a lot of Arabic, and some of the Iraqi Kurds I knew preferred to speak Persian. The Foreign Office would have taught me the language if I hadn't already spoken it, But it does that in a very intensive and functional way, as I found out when I learned Russian later. The history and the literature parts of my degree and the year abroad all gave me a much broader understanding of the Middle East that I was able to use for building relationships, whether from seeing how a country had come to be the way that it is, or just being able to chat about your favourite books and singers. More generally, and this is an important factor for Foreign Office recruiters, I think, along with the language skills, is that I had the experience of throwing myself into something new and unfamiliar and proving that I could thrive while doing that. My last job before this one was in Ukraine. I spent 4.5 years there, and it was the longest I'd lived in any one place since I left school. An embassy is really well set up for supporting new arrivals, but if you're going to be successful in your job, and frankly, if you're going to enjoy your life overseas, you need to have the flexibility to fit into a different culture, and a degree like the one I did shows you can do that. It proves it to yourself as well. My degree gave me skills that I'd say come from features of the Cambridge system, but not so specifically my course. So the practice of going through large amounts of information, questioning what it really tells you, what's the motivation of the person it comes from, where are the gaps, forming your own opinion about that. That was a core part of my degree, and it's a core part of my job too. Being in a supervision, having to present my work and defend my argument in front of somebody who really knows the subject better than I do, has, things in common with situations I found myself in at work too. And those skills you learn in Cambridge about making a coherent and persuasive argument, preparing to be challenged on it, and thinking on your feet when you get a question you weren't expecting are things I constantly draw on in my job. I very much credit my Cambridge studies with putting me on a path for an incredibly interesting career. Other people I studied with went on to various things that are more or less directly related to our degrees, so working in communications and journalism, marketing, third sector work on youth development in the Middle East and in the UK. So if you choose to head in a different direction after graduating from this kind of course, it's still a degree that helps you to stand out and gives you different things to talk about at an interview. And I think that brings me back really to where I started. And I just want to finish by saying I encourage you to apply to Cambridge and to Keys. I encourage you to look at all the subjects that are available and study something that you think you'll love. And whatever that is, there will be opportunities to turn it into a career you'll love too.